Hey, beautiful souls, beautiful sunshine here with the R Holistic Killer, aka Sonia B. So I am back with another prophetic message. Actually, I have several different prophetic messages. So with that being said, let's go ahead on and get into it. But before we do, I do want to tell you that if you feel like these messages do not apply, then just let it fly. But sometimes one thing you have to keep in mind, if you are being divinely guided to this channel and you watch it to the very end, obviously there's a message for you that maybe have not gotten here just yet, because sometimes the energy, whenever you reach this message, it could happen 2 days from that point on, 3 days, or even a week from that. Okay, so just be mindful, because it's just the energies that we're dealing with as these planetary shift. Okay, so the way I saw this was on March 15th, and it was like as if what was happening here was like a teenage child in a sense, and it's almost like their heart space, like their heart space was bothering them. Okay, so obviously that was letting me know that there's something that was bothering them. But it's almost like the way I saw this was as if it was like a Caucasian man. And I told you guys before that whenever God shows it to me in a dream, I have to just state how I saw it. I can't sugarcoat it. And I'm not going to be dishonest about it, but I just have to say it for what it is. It doesn't matter what color you are, what your race is. I'm just being honest and authentic, okay? And if you don't like that, then I'm sorry. You can just go ahead and click off now, okay? So, but anyway, it's almost like they were kind of projecting at their heart space in a sense. It's almost like, I'm not sure if it's the old, okay, I just got it that it's like the old patriarch mindset in a sense. It's almost like they were projecting at this teen in a sense, and it's almost like it was closing their heart or irritating their heart, or causing problems to the heart in a sense. And for those of you who do not know, the heart chakra is basically if somebody has like a closed heart chakra, or they closing themselves off from love in a sense, basically they can start experiencing situations and problems with their heart space. Okay, so that's kind of like what that's in detail, okay, because it's associated back to the heart. So if you don't allow just your heart, if you don't allow your heart's the desires that it is seeking, and you close yourself off in a sense, it can cause people to have problems. That's why people have problems like heart problems and things like that. It's associated back to any unhealed wounds that a person has not addressed. Okay, so anyway, that's all I saw for that. But I want to say this, that came in two. So that was just letting me know, just seeing two people kind of coming around the corner behind each other, that was intensifying the energy, okay, for some people to be aware of. And this next message came through, and this is for the ladies, okay? So ladies, be mindful, because you have men who are, let's just say that they're kind of seeking someone who is, they feel like they is vulnerable in a sense. And when I say vulnerable, I don't mean like you're open, you're honest in a sense, but at the same time, it's almost like you wear your heart on your sleeves, is just what I heard, okay? So if that can be of help. So be mindful of this. You're going to have to move in a way that you really pay attention to your intuition, your sixth senses, your be in tune to the red flags, the bell whistles, and the alarms that go off at this time, okay? Because I saw this as if, there's some men out here who are kind of like, how do I want to say it? Almost like they're being drawn to someone, or either they're being drawn, or either they're looking for someone who is like really like wearing their heart on their sleeves, okay? And when I say that, I mean just like, oh, like, yeah, uh-huh. Well, anyway, you know what that means. Anyway, hopefully you do. So anyway, so let me move on. This next message came through. Some of you guys may have found yourself dealing with a situation, and it could not a situation, but it's more so of let's just say maybe like a little bit of fear may have kind of set in a little bit, or maybe you was just being challenged to see if you were going to become fearful in a sense of maybe something that you saw, something that you watched, something that was kind of like it was liberating, it was truthful, but it's like somebody going against the grain, and it's almost like that this is kind of like your path in a sense, and it may have instilled maybe like a little scariness or a little bit of fear within you in a sense of just something pertaining to one's foundation, okay? Just wondering about your possible foundation for the near future, okay? So only thing I can say is you just have to just trust God and know that if God said he is protecting you, that no one can stand against you, okay? That's all I can say. So this next message came through was, okay, so this next message that came through is you guys gonna have to be mindful, because the way I saw this was I've had like something with 4-year-olds, and I said this before too in regards to another dream, something with 4-year-old girls. Now I'm seeing this with, well, this was a girl in this dream as well too, but it was also a 4-year-old boy. So be mindful, because there's something going on with the 4-year-olds, because the way I saw this was, it was like as if I was walking and it was like a 4-year-old was just kind of, but I got the sense like his parents was kind of like controlling things behind the scenes in a sense. Like imagine a robot, that the military or police send in because they want to make sure people stay safe, okay? And it's almost like seeing things through the eyes of the robot. It's almost like that's what was happening. Like the parent was controlling the child of what to do in a sense, because it's like myself, my kids, we were walking, and all of a sudden I saw like this 4-year-old kind of like trailing us in a sense, but they didn't look like they was in any help, that they needed help or in dire need of something. They just seemed like they were a young kid who was kind of acting like an adult, just walking and going along. But I kept looking back and I noticed, I was like, okay, this child's walking by themselves. So, and then I noticed it seemed like when we would speed up a little bit, the child would speed up. So, and then all of a sudden, it's almost like we shape shifted into like a car or like a moped or something. And I really put the pedal, I felt like it was a car, because I felt like I put the pedal to the metal. And this child was like really like running almost like alongside of the back tail end of the car. like it was just like supernatural in a sense. So I was like, what? So just be mindful of that, because there's going to be something that transpired that takes place with 4-year-old kids. There's going to be something that's going to seem like supernatural, maybe something, I don't know. Just be mindful, okay? That's all I can tell you. And then so again, something with 4-year-old kids. So just remember that, okay? But then in the next dream, I saw another 4-year-old kid. See, so these are going to be different situations and different scenarios, because the other dream I gave, it was like there was going to be situations with 4-year-old girls, something about some sort of crisis in some sort of way. And then with the males, it's almost like the supernatural situations. And then with another girl, so everybody's situation is going to be different. There may be people dealing with different scenarios, different situations pertaining to based off what lessons that they need to learn, okay? And then this other dream where there was like a child who, now need I remind you, let's just say like maybe there was somebody in your walk of life who you don't necessarily care for too much, okay? Maybe they may have done something or always done something, and it's to the point that you wouldn't be willing to help them, but they knew that you'd be willing to help a child. So in some instance, again, this is where you're going to have to use your intuition in a sense of navigating in a way of do I help or do I not help, okay? Because I saw it was like a white car sitting like in a driveway, and it's like the parent inside the car, like it was maybe a grandparent inside the car. They knew that you would help that child in a sense, so that's why they purposely sent that child to you. So be mindful of that as well too. I'm not telling you not to help anyone, but this is what I'm telling you. You're going to have to navigate with your intuition, because there may be times that God is telling you like, no, remove yourself. Don't do absolutely anything, okay? And I say all that to say it's about training that God takes you through, okay? This does not mean that you're cold at heart. It's just there's a lesson that maybe God is trying to break you out of a certain habit that you're willing to be so open and willingly to just give to any and everybody, even when somebody else may have, I just heard like, not your best interest at heart, or they know that you'll be so open to the point that you don't like them, but or you've had issues with them, but you're still willing to kind of like give, but somehow they're attached to that other person in a sense, which kind of makes them still benefit in a way, if that kind of makes sense, okay? So this next message, give me a minute. Okay, so some of you guys may be about to start dealing with situations pertaining to like colleges. I don't know if this is going on like college tours or signing college applications or just kind of like getting them ready of things that you want to apply for. But that's all I saw. It's like somebody was setting a date or giving somebody a date to put into their phone in regards to like a college tour or something like that. Enrolled in or something like that, okay? Okay, this next dream came was this kind of almost like the situation of like the Matrix, okay? You know how in the Matrix, like when Neo called back to the headquarters and he needed an entry point, so he got into a telephone booth and it transported him back to where he needed to go. Or they may have told him to go into a specific room and up on the left hand side because that was where the portal was, okay? So when I tell you, you hear me talking about portals, that's what I'm talking about. That's just kind of like how it was in the Matrix. So in this dream, this came through as if like there was a situation at the mall, okay? And it was like almost like trying to get into this one door that was near this stairway that I had a key for, but somehow some of the side railing to the stairwell was kind of missing that leads up to the door. So it's almost like how am I going to reach that in a sense, okay? But there was like as an example, there was like a 9-year-old child who was in the stairway because her parent was trying to work, but she was having her child there at the stairwell just so she know where she was at. Kind of like Good Deeds, the movie what Tyler Perry did, where the lady was cleaning the building and her child was in the little storage closet because she couldn't afford child care. Kind of similar to that. And then it's almost like I couldn't, in the dream, it's almost like I couldn't get to the platform, you know, the stairs, the platform, and then there's the door. So part of the platform was kind of missing. So I was like, how am I going to get to that door? But it was to the point, it was almost like I was about to ask the child, it's like I was almost about to ask the child, if I give you this key and I lift you up, can you open that door? Because it was almost like trying to get somewhere, okay? I'm not sure because I never made it there in a sense. But anywho, some of you guys could be finding yourselves dealing with that situation. It's almost like you were ready to walk through the door, but you couldn't walk through the door. You was ready to put the key in the door, but you didn't put the key in the door, okay? Anyway, that's for some people. So the other part of the mall was very interesting, okay? And I say all that to say that in this part of the mall, it's almost like I decided to go shopping, okay? Like after leaving that area, so it switched scenes and me going like shopping. So I went into this one store that was connected to another store. So as an example, you know how when you go into like Victoria's Secrets, like Victoria's Secret has like the side with the underwear and all that other stuff, and then they have like the other side with like, I haven't been in it so long. Like, what is it? Like the lingerie part, and then you have, well, the cash register part, and then like the other side where they have like the little lingerie part. So it's like 3 different parts: the perfumes, no, the underwears, the perfumes, the cash registers, and then the other little part, sweatpants, you know, all their little relaxing wear in a sense. So it's kind of like that, but it has like the archway. So what happened was in this dream, it's almost like it looked similar to that store. So what it was like 2 stores conjoined to one. So think about when you go in, like I said, Victoria's Secret, and you either go from the underwear aisle, panty aisle over to the perfume aisle, or from the perfume aisle over to the sweatpants and all that relaxing wear thingy, okay? So imagine it only being 2 places in there. So one place that I walked into, it was connected to also another store. And what happened was I bought something out of the first store, but there was only one. It's supposed to be one way to go in, okay? In order to leave out of that store, you had to go to the you had to go over to the other business, even though if you didn't want to purchase something from there, but you had to go through there to go out. So I say all that to say, be mindful, because some people could be trying to attach themselves to other people, other corporations in a sense, as a way to kind to make money off of you, okay? And I say all that to say, but because the 2 businesses were together, so even though I'm sitting here talking about this is like a clothing store, this can come in any way, shape, or form. It could be a situation of like a hair salon is attached to something pertaining to something of this other nature. But the way I saw this was this was pertaining to like Asian Americans, okay? So for those people who set up shops, because you know sometimes they sell things like hair and you know all the other stuff that's inside of their establishment, sometimes outfits, wigs or whatever the case may be. But the way I saw this is like as if I was leaving out of the other store that I had purchased something. I walked over to the other side and the energy had shifted really quick. One side over here was very calm and peaceful, but then when I walked through there to go out the other door to the other establishment, to the Asian company in a sense, because that's where you're supposed to leave out in a sense, okay? One way in, one way out. And as I was leaving out, I noticed there was an Asian lady sitting by the door. She was sitting up on like a high stool. And it's like she was fussing and arguing with somebody who was black in a sense. So I thought to myself, I was like, it's chaotic over here. So I told myself, I went right back to the other side. And I was like, where's the manager at? Because I was basically about to tell him, I'm not going out that door. I'm not even walking into the establishment. I'm not going to give them my time, my energy, or my attention in a sense. And I was about to go back out the same door that I came in. So I say all that to say, when I saw the chaos and the confusion taking place, you guys have to remind yourself of, as I explained to you before, be mindful of who you buy food from. It's not just about food. It's about who you buy things from, because sometimes people don't. They could treat you like crap. A person can not, and they can openly express this, like not really caring for you in a sense. They can tell you behind your back, or you hear the stories of how you, and I just saw 555 as I said that. I mean, so we all know, you know, just the history and the level of how black people have been disrespected even by the Asian culture. But it can be, I did a video over on TikTok. You may want to go watch that. And I said that sometimes we play a part in our own pain. So if somebody is disrespecting you and you continue to keep buying from them, that is your own personal fault. So I say all that to say that sometimes you got to learn how to just take your money and go somewhere else. Okay. That doesn't necessarily mean go to someone else within the same regions in a sense. And I say all that to say as an example, because I know sometimes, you know, the black woman, we like our hair done and we like it to look a certain type of way, or we want a wig, or, you know, we want that, what is it, bohemian, or I don't know what I'm talking about, y'all. Something of the nature. You don't want like that bohemian hair or that Malaysia hair or whatever the case may be. Imagine how much, if you stop spending so much money on that hair and keep that money in your pocket, you could be trying to build your own wealth, okay? Instead, what you're doing is you're feeding somebody else your energy, your time, and your effort and your hard-earned money to someone who's only disrespecting you in the process. See, because they only do what they do because you allow them to do it. And you have to remember that, okay? So I'm going to end that part there. What else was it? So remember that. And not only that, but why would you want to, whatever it is, whether it's food, whether it's clothing, why would you want to buy or purchase something from somebody who doesn't really care for you? And I'll give you a quick example. I remember one time when I was like, I picked up like a little part-time job when me and my mother had our own business. That was like in a little shopping center, right? And because I moved into my own place at the time, and it just so happened that I worked at this little, true story, I worked at this little shop that I used to sometimes like to go into. And the moment that I realized what she was doing, see, once they hire you on, that's when they feel like they have you under their control. They can tell you anything because you feel like you may need the money more so than keeping your integrity, your morals, your values, and having self-respect for yourself. Because I clearly remember, like, it was like a little clothing store, you know, little sweatpants, t-shirts, you know, things like that. Like, hey, they have those type of stores. So I say all that to say, when I went in there to work, and I was only there for a couple of hours and I was out, I was like, I'm not doing this. Okay. I was like, I did not need the money that much. Okay. And God worked it all out for me to the point that I didn't even need to work there. So what happened was, when she basically hired me on, she was like, well, you know, you watch the door and you make sure nobody steals anything. So basically, in so many words, it was always like, follow the customer. And I was like, I'm not doing that. And then at first, you know, when someone came into the store, I was like, you know, I kind of went in their direction, you know, in a sense. And I was just like, that didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel right to me at all. So, you know, at that point in time, I just end up walking away. And I was like, you know, this is not for me, okay? Because it was just to sit there, because I knew what type of people was coming in that store. It was people who looked like me. So for her to say what she's saying to me, people, again, we can cause our own pain if we are allowing it, again, because she knew what she wanted me to do. I didn't know what she wanted me to do, but once she told me what she wanted to do, that didn't feel right with me in a sense. So therefore, I chose to walk away, okay? Because I chose my self-respect, and I know that I wouldn't like it if the shoes was on the other foot, if I walked in the store and if the other girl was doing that to me in a sense, who looked like me. So yeah, I had a problem with that. So I walked away because that wasn't who I was as a person in a sense, okay? And I make it a point to treat people how I want to be treated. So anyway, so this next message came through. It was, oh, this one was very interesting. There's something going on, y'all. I'm not quite for sure. So if I receive more detail, I make sure I let you know. Something pertaining to the government. I'm not sure if the government is training. I feel like the government is training people and training black people at that. I saw this like two different ways, okay? Or several different ways. I saw that the government was training black people, or I saw that the government's trying to round up black people, okay? And it's almost like, because in this dream, it's almost like I was kind of hiding underneath something. The moment that I saw like the helicopter flying, because it was like this helicopter, but it had like this, imagine, you know how like when people cut the grass and they have that big lawnmower thing that they ride on up on the little rack, the little rat cart thing. It was almost like that rat cart thing was attached to a helicopter, and the helicopter people was kind of flying, you know, like how search and rescue has a little cart that they put people in as well too, similar to that, but very big. It was a whole bunch of people in there, and it seemed like it was mainly black people in there. Okay, so I'm not sure if the government is kind of training black people for something, but I really feel like they were, because I feel like the lights were kind of on them, and I felt like for some particular reason in that dream I felt the need to hide in a sense, but then I went and ran and told a friend what was taking place and what was transpiring. So be mindful. I do want to say this: if you're somebody who works for the government, be mindful and make sure you use your integrity and your morals and your values if you have some, you know, because there's some people who don't even have that in a sense. And I say all that to say that when people don't have morals and values, as I just stated in that, you know, that workplace that I was there only for about an hour in a sense, it's almost like when you don't, you end up sacrificing yourself, and you end up allowing yourself to sacrifice other people in the process. Okay, so sometimes when we in these level of positions, sometimes God will allow us to receive and be in these and level up to these certain positions to see whether we're going to choose and make the right choices. Sometimes our ego get involved, and we can find ourselves going higher and higher. And when we find ourselves going higher, sometimes we can a person can lose who they are in the process, okay? Because they get caught up with the positions, they get caught up with the titles, they get caught up with the money, they get caught up with the sense of, oh, I have arrived, or, you know, they basically, I just heard, they basically start to become the same person who they really did not care for throughout history in a sense. So therefore, if somebody was suppressing you throughout history, it's almost like you find yourself slowly but surely start to become that very person that you didn't care for from the very beginning. So be mindful, okay? So yeah, something pertaining to the government, either rounding people up or either showcasing these people and having them to, I just got the word, thank you, Spirit. I just got the word, like, you know how the overseers were when it came down to slavery, you know how they had the overseers that oversaw the slaves in a sense. So I'm not sure if they're trying to build up certain black people and to be in these certain positions to do their dirty work. So this is where you're going to have to be mindful of navigating with your intuition, navigating with your sixth senses, and most of all, having that personal relationship with God, you know, because God will lead you and guide you and give you the information that you need in order to help keep yourself safe in the process, okay? He'll give you that spiritual 411 when you're not really sure about what's transpiring, what's taking place, okay? So I asked for a little bit more confirmation, but I really feel like they're training black people to kind of like have that mindset of how they doing, because sometimes you have to understand this. When a person is wounded, they can be easily controlled. And I say all that to say, if you're not done your inner healing work for your inner child, like from your childhood, if you have unresolved childhood trauma in a sense, if you have not healed that, what can basically end up doing is, I did a video over on TikTok, you can watch that as well too. Your childhood affects your adulthood. And I say all that to say that you can find yourself in these situations and circumstances to where that if you have not did your inner healing, you'll find yourself doing things that is not necessarily a good thing in a sense, you know, because again, sometimes people have morals, sometimes they have values, sometimes they have respect for themselves, but you know, I'm sure everybody has it, but their level is totally different from or should I say, their value system is different from everybody else's. They could have a mindset of I'm going to reach the top no matter what and step on whoever I need to along the way and not really care. So you have to remind yourself of that too, of just the various different people that you deal with throughout life, because there could be some people who have healed their inner trauma, and there may be people, those who have not healed their inner trauma, and those who have not, they find themselves doing things like that, compromising their integrity if they ever even had some from the get-go. Okay, so this next message I came through was, some of you guys need to dance. I said this some time ago. Dancing helps to move any stagnant energy. Okay, it helps to move it along throughout the body. So dancing is good, especially if you're someone who sits all the time. You know, it doesn't matter, male or female, just dancing is very beneficial. Okay. Okay, and then this last message I received was, ladies, be mindful. Okay, it came in a form as if it was males, but be mindful, because it could just mean the male the male archetype, the male archetype, or just the male energy itself. Okay, the male energy itself. Okay, so anyway, so the point I'm trying to make is, I saw in a dream, it was like somebody was getting to know somebody. Okay, it was like a male obviously had exchanged numbers with a female in a sense, but the way I got this is, the way I received this message was, it's almost like the girl reaches out to the guy because maybe she hadn't talked to him in a while, and she decided to reach out to him. And then he called her back, but it was kind of almost like the old system, like the pager system, because it's like she put a number in, he called back in a sense, because that's what I got. Okay, and I did hear something about the late 80s, early 90s. Okay, so it's almost like she paged him, and then he called her back and was like, yeah, somebody called such and such, in a sense. So the way I saw this was, you know, the girl was talking to the guy, but I felt like he was older as well too. So be mindful. So young ladies, be mindful, because I felt like this man was older, and I felt like he was trying to manipulate, control, and gave me narcissist type mindset. Okay, because when he called back, she said, yeah, this is such and such, in a sense, and it's almost like he was like a little short with her. Okay, but not only that, but I got the feeling, even though I couldn't see him, but in this dream, the way I saw it was as if I felt like I saw like his homeboys being around him, and I almost got like a little child, maybe like about 8 or 9 months old, was also around him as well too, while he was on the phone with this young lady. So it's almost like she was just kind of having a conversation with him, or trying to have a conversation with him, but he was like being a little short. So she said, just out of curiosity, where are you from? And he got on the defense, like, what does it worry about where I'm from, and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. And he started getting a little smart and sarcastic. So at that point in time, you know, she realized the red flags was going off. She realized the sirens in the building, the whistles were going off. And her intuition was telling her, okay, you need to go ahead on and just cut that off, okay? Because it is not going anywhere. So she basically gave him an earful, and she basically hung up the phone on him. So I want you to be mindful, just to be mindful during this time of when you're meeting new people, in a sense, because I kind of got the feeling like this man, even though his homeboys was around, it's almost like he was acting in that way because his homeboys was around, his child was around as well too. But I almost got the feeling like maybe there was a woman or I can't really say if it's wife or just partner or somebody, but they weren't in the house. But I just felt like that's why he was responding the way he was responding, because he thought it was kind of funny, in a sense. Not even he funny, but he just thought it was funny to be kind of running game on people. Okay, and I just kept hearing, like I said, the late 80s and early 90s mindset, if you think about it, during the time when they had pagers. Okay, anyway, so those are all the messages that I have, but I do want to give you the scripture real quick. I think, bear with me 1 second. Okay, so I received this message, I think it was the other day. This is Acts 4:10 and Acts 4:12. It says, then now this, you and all the people of Israel, it is by the name of Jesus Christ, our Nazarene, who who you crucified, but whom God raised from the dead, that this man stands before you healed. Okay. Salvation is found in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given to mankind by which we must be saved. So you have to understand that right now we are all kind of going through inner healing work right now. And even those people who are out there playing those type of mind games, with people in a sense, it's like God is dealing with them, or God will be dealing with them as well too. Okay. But again, God wants you to know and understand that when you choose him, he will make your loads and your burdens much lighter. Okay. So this other scripture that came through today, it was Psalms 23, 1-3. And it says, the Lord is my shepherd and I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pasture. He leadeth me beside the quiet waters. He refreshed my soul. He guides me along the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. But I'm going to just go ahead on and say the whole thing out loud, because this version is NIV version, but I believe it is, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pasture. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He has been leading you all this time. He is restoring your soul, okay? He leadeth you in the paths of righteousness. So sometimes we got to go through the darkness in order to get to the light. He leadeth us in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, when we go through the dark night of the soul, in darkness in our life, in hard times in our life, this is to refine us. It's us having a death and a rebirth, okay? As he lead us through the, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Path of darkness. Sorry, bear with me. Lead us on the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. And this is where I was saying when I said earlier about a little bit of fear had set in regards to a person's foundation, in a sense of just kind of questioning God, asking you to do something, in a sense, and a little bit of fear sitting out because of something that you saw, maybe that somebody else on the path similar to you was asked to do something, and it could have affected them in a sense. Remember, your path is different from everyone else's path. Maybe that was a situation they was meant to experience, but your situation would be different. If God said we wanted divine protection, we have to trust that we under divine protection for those he told it to, okay? So anyway, lead us through the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we should fear no evil, for thou art with us. For he is with us. For thy rod and thy staff, he comfort us. He prepares the tables in the presence. This is what he's doing. He's preparing the presence in the tables of your enemies. Enemies sitting at the table, okay? And he's preparing a place for you. Sorry, lost my thought again. Preparing a place for you in the presence of your enemies. And he's anointing your head with oil. Anointing your head with oil is you standing up and you aligning with what his will is. This is what all the training was for. You had to experience all these different things. You had to speak up for yourself. You had to learn how to not just listen to what people was telling you, but watch what they were showing you. You had to realize that just because people were saying certain things that wasn't necessarily their heart space, all of this training was leading you up to now. Okay, so he's anointing your head with oil, and surely goodness and mercy shall follow you all the days of your life. And you shall dwell in the house of the Lord, if you trust. But remember, we have free will, but it's a matter of, will you be in your own way, or will you allow yourself to align to God's way? Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to end it there. But I wish you all much love, much light, and I hope that information was helpful. Bye.